Hi there, and welcome. It's Psychic Cynthia here, Spiritual Psychic Cynthia Killian. And I'm logging on today just to let you know that Pluto has gone retrograde. Yes, that's right. As of tonight, this is Saturday, April 25th, 2020, Pluto is going retrograde. Now listen, before you get all worked up, Pluto is one of those planets that spends a great deal of its cycle in its time in retrograde, so it's a little bit different than when Mercury goes retrograde, quite a bit actually. Its energies are usually more subtle, but nonetheless powerful. And when a planet goes retrograde, when Pluto goes retrograde, it's a good time to review. Any planet that goes retrograde signals a review to us, but with Pluto, Pluto deals with conflict, for example, and the truths that we have hidden deep within ourselves, the deep, deep emotions. It rules, sometimes things that are unsavory, the shadow, the parts of ourselves that we don't want to look at. And by the way, this is a collective energy as well. So Pluto going retrograde right now in the middle of this whole COVID-19 crisis and lockdown and all the things that are going on. It's going to be real interesting to see how it plays out. And I don't know for sure, because in my lifetime we've never faced this exact situation that we have. But I'm thinking that maybe with Pluto going retrograde, and that's today, April 25th, and it will be retrograde until October 4th of this year. So that's a good, would that be 5.5 months or something like that? That's a good long period of time. And I'm thinking that with the energies of Pluto going retrograde, well, at first, we're probably going to see an escalation of conflict and power struggles. Because my observation is that when a planet goes retrograde, right when it first goes retrograde, and especially one that will be retrograde so long, 5.5 months, that's a long time. Is it 5.5 months? I think so. Well, it's till October 4th, so you can do the math. So when a planet is going retrograde that long, when it first goes retrograde, about 2 weeks before, 2 to 3 weeks, and 2 to 3 weeks after, that whole little 4 to 6 week time frame, I have observed that often the energies of that planet are emphasized. They are overemphasized. They become more active. It doesn't really make any sense if you think about it going retrograde, but I guess it's doing something. So for a while, those energies that are represented by that planet kind of get a little crazy. So with Pluto having, it's one of the planets that has a tie-in with conflict, and definitely a planet of power struggle. And by the way, I know that the International Astrology, organization or whatever ruled Pluto, the astrocrats decided that Pluto wasn't a planet a few years back ago. But by the way, that decision is still in dispute, and not everybody agrees with that, including not every astronomer. And for astrological purposes, Pluto is still a planet in regards that it is still a very powerful energetic force. So I digress. So Pluto is connected to power struggles. And even, you heard that word plutocrats? Where do you think it comes from? Pluto, is connected to Hades, and he had all the wealth of the underworld, right? So, it will be interesting to see how this plays out with the plutocrats, with the powers that be. Will there be a whole, lot of power struggles between these large monopolies right around the time, that I'm filming this video and for a few weeks afterwards? I don't know, but I have noticed that when Pluto goes direct, we see the tendency towards power struggles and conflicts to escalate for a few weeks, and then it seems to calm down. And then because Pluto's retrograde, it seems to calm down, and people seem to go within and have more of a sense of cooperation. And maybe it's not, okay, the shadow doesn't go away, okay? it never goes away, but it's almost like the shadow can become more shadow then, if that makes any sense. But not at first. My observation in the past has been that when Pluto first goes retrograde, the collective shadow and the personal shadow both become more active. And by shadow, I mean that could be good stuff, that could be talents and skills, positive energies that you have, constructive energies. I mean, it's all good, one way or the other. It all could be used for good, let's say that. So that could be part of the shadow, but a large part of the shadow for the collective and for individuals, for us, okay, for each person's different, of course, but most of us, we've got stuff lurking in our shadow, emotions we don't want to look at, fears. Talk about fears. I mean, fear of dying right now is really forefront in a lot of people's consciousness. Oh, by the way, did I mention that Pluto is associated with death? It's also associated with rebirth and resurrection. So I like to think, I mean, maybe this Pluto going, retrograde for, till October 4th could help us to move away from such an extreme fear of death towards, embracing what is and really collectively dealing with this, or at least more of us. I don't know if there is one collective, really. I mean, I think we'd like the idea of that, but, there's all these little subgroups, and they're all on their different page, and they all have their different karma, by the way. But I do think there's a plan guiding it, all the different notes of reality, let's say. So maybe we can start to embrace the resurrection part and get some things going again, get some healing going. I mean, as the time I'm making this, as far as I know, there's no medical cure for the coronavirus. That may change. And hopefully some people can get busy doing some research. But, in the meantime, there are lots of things we can do to strengthen our body. And we should be doing those things. And this is not a video about those things. I mean, my goodness, there's lots of information out there. I mean, start with, learning about vitamins, really basic things, just start with eating some food, okay? It's really easy on the quarantine, have you noticed, to want to overindulge in junk food, but try to get some greens in there too. It's spring, okay? That's all I'm going to say on that. And heck, I'm an herbalist who loves tea. I could just live off tea, and tea, like, to me, herbal tea, black tea, green tea, I love it all. So I digress. But perhaps there will be a spiritual and inner revolution for some of us, an inner, not revolution, evolution, transformation, resurrection, rebirth, if we are willing to face our shadows. And because Pluto is in Capricorn, here is just a short listing or idea of some of the shadows you want to look for in yourself and look out for. Capricorn is a very judgmental sign, or can be. By the way, I'm a Capricorn, so I know this Capricorn thing, right? So yes, that energy of Capricorn can cause us to be, if it's a lower vibration of Capricorn rather than the higher, more evolved, awakened vibration, it can be very judgy. So listen, if you're going on your social media accounts and you're making judgy posts about people who wear masks, or you're making judgy posts about people who don't wear masks, you're working, that's your shadow, okay? Just know that. I'm going to help you bring it to light right here. That's your shadow, because when we feel the need to judge another so strongly and to criticize and to rant on about that, that is triggering something in you. That is telling you that you have a deep-seated fear, a personal inadequacy, maybe a desire to control others, because that's part of Pluto's energy too, and especially in Capricorn, that combination, it's for their own good, right? Only it's not, because we live in a free will universe. And, I didn't make these rules, by the way. It's just the dimension we live in. So, and you didn't make them either, by the way. We don't get to choose the rules. That's kind of a Capricorn construct right there, but it's true. We don't get to choose the universal laws, like gravity. You don't get to choose whether that applies or not. Karma, which is very connected to gravity, by the way. You don't get to choose if, those laws, if you're going to be subject to them. So it's the same thing about free will. I mean, you can judge people, and you can judge yourself harshly even. And ultimately, we're not here to judge ourselves or another. So that's something to look out for, or to be aware of over the next 4.5 months as Pluto and Capricorn is retrograde. Could you ease up a little on the judgy? Instead of judgy, could you open to other people's experiences? You don't have to accept it as your own. Or more importantly, I think what I'm saying here is, because, you have your experience. I wouldn't want to take that from you. You have your opinions, what you feel intuitively is right for you, and you should be guided by your intuition. Now, I don't think you should be guided by your fears and your prejudices and, all that shit in your subconscious that you really need to deal with. And the problem is a lot of people don't know the difference between that and true intuition. But who knows? Maybe while Pluto is retrograde in Capricorn, you can start dealing with some of that and sorting that out. I will tell you this, I don't think true intuition ever comes from fear. Now, it may tell you to protect yourself, to do certain things, or more likely not do certain things. It depends on the person. But, if you get all worked up and blah, 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 that's not intuition. Intuition doesn't work that way. You can tell, I think it's sort of universal for most people in most cultures that, when that inner voice speaks. Well, you heard that biblical saying, be still and know that I am God. It isn't about like whether you believe in God or a certain religion, but it's that inner voice is in the stillness, which you really can't access when you're freaking out, okay? So, as I've said many times before, calm the heck down if you want to access your intuition. But getting back to Pluto in retrograde, look at your shadow. Be willing to face the unsavory parts of yourself. If you feel triggered by another person, consider, is there something they're doing that is within you, that you have that within you? If you're, let's say, for example, relating to the current situation, if you're a person who really believes in the wearing of masks and that everybody should do that, and you feel the urge to write, judgmental post, and that's fine. I'm not judging you for doing that, right? We're just looking at this objectively, okay? Or anything else. That's just a very concrete example. But, if you fear, if you don't like what somebody's doing and something specific, and you feel the urge to, even just dwell on it a lot, then, what does that represent within you? Maybe something about that person's behavior is something within you. Maybe deep down inside, you really, like in this example, you really admire the people who are willing to, say, screw it and not do that thing. And by the way, vice versa. If you're somebody who's like, I don't understand why people are wearing masks, and, maybe within you, you do have a part of you that understands and, wants to kind of embrace that. I don't know, it's not always that simple, I will say that, but it is always some sort of resonance with something in the shadow. Whenever we get that worked up about another person's behavior and try to judge them or try to take their right to be who they are from them, try to tell them how they have to live their own lives, we don't have that power. We're not God. You're not God, okay? Now, God may be in all of us. That's a discussion for a different time. I do believe that we're all in God. Maybe it's a better way to say it. In spirit, in divine. Even if you don't believe in God, there's energy, right? We're all energy. But ultimately, we don't have that power to set in judgments of others. So what happens, I think bringing it back around to Pluto and Capricorn in this whole retrograde, what happens when we try to set in judgment of others, and we keep doing that a lot, especially, we've all done it some, so I'm not judging you if you do it because I know I've done it, Goddess knows, and I have to check myself for this. By the way, I am a Capricorn, with an Aries moon no less, so I can get worked up. Why do you think I meditate a lot? Why do you think I drum and chant the runes? But my point is that when we let ourselves indulge, and it is an indulgence, to focus on judgment of ourselves or others, to be harsh, to be unkind and unloving in our words. When we do that, that just comes back to us, even if it's of another person, even if you're going on and ranting about what this other person is doing wrong or not doing and it's wrong, that is a very sharp, mentally and emotionally and spiritually violent energy. and it tears into your own aura, so you tear yourself apart. I mean, do you really feel any better? Ask yourself, after you rant and judge, or if you have children, are you trying to control their lives and live through them? Are you trying to get them to do what you think they need to do? These are all very Pluto and Capricorn issues, okay? And listen, I know I'm touching some nerves right now. Some of you who've logged on to watch this video are like, oh my goodness, this is getting too real for me. Hey, if it's getting too real, that's a signal for you to go within and look at this and meditate. And ask your guides, ask your angels, your higher power, your inner self, your inner wisdom, what do you need to look at in the shadow? How do you need to begin perhaps treating others differently so you're not chopping up your own aura and theirs as well? It all boils down to kindness and unconditional love. And unconditional love, I mean, it means unconditional. It means whether that person does what you think should do or not, whether they do what you want them to do or not. I mean, you may even think they're putting your life in danger, but if you're going to walk this higher path, now if you're not interested in that, fine, I get that. I don't even know why you're watching this video if you're not interested in that, because either you're spiritual or you're not. I mean, what spirituality says it's okay to judge others or be mentally or, emotionally abusive to them? I don't know of any spiritual tradition that says that. So if you're on the spiritual path, however you define your spiritual path, it's a journey of love. And, it doesn't say love somebody when they do what you want, when they act like you think they should. I know not everybody watching this is Christian, but I really do think that Jesus, he exemplified it all for us as a teacher. Talking about the power of love, love is the law. Talking about also in regards to judgment, whoever is without sin, be the first to cast the stone. That's what I always tell myself when I find myself going irate and, kind of going off. And, because heck, I can get irate about spiritual people who get judgmental. And then I'm like, well, heck, I'm being judgmental if I do that. So it's a tough path. I'm not saying it isn't. But we want to always do unto others as we would have done unto us. That tenet right there is found in every world religion in some form or the other. Every teaching, all of the masters have brought this message of unconditional love. So something to meditate upon, and if you're willing, embrace, go into your shadow, find the places that are unloving and unkind towards yourself or others, because ultimately if you are being unkind towards another, it is an unkindness towards yourself as well, and vice versa. So on that cheery note, I guess this was a really intense video, but hey, didn't I say that when the planet Pluto would turn retrograde for a while, the energies would be intensified? Well, guess what? Pluto is the planet of emotional intensity. So forgive me if this was a little bit more intense than normal. Okay, until next time, I'm wishing you all the light fairy blessings too of nature, and just hoping that this spring energy will heal all our hearts, hoping that we can all come together, whatever our different perspectives are, and just remember that loving each other and healing, this is what is important. We want this not only for ourselves, but for our children, our future children, our grandchildren, our future grandchildren, and all the children of the world. May you all be blessed, and may you all grow and expand and find the inner light in this time of Pluto retrograde ahead. Until next time, all the love in the world to you, and bright blessings.